Damon Hill slams Verstappen's relentless on-track tactics, warning that if roles were reversed, he'd cry like a baby, while Red Bull's revamped RB21 shows promising technical upgrades. Dive in for an inside look at both the controversy and the cutting-edge improvements in the Formula One world. Let's begin with one of the most contentious narratives circulating in F1 today. Former world champion Damon Hill has not held back in his criticism of Max Verstappen's on-track behavior. Speaking on a Sky Sports F1 podcast, Hill remarked that Verstappen simply refuses to give up any track space during overtakes. To drive home his point, he compared Verstappen to Dick Dastardly, the notorious cartoon villain from Wacky Races. Hill's commentary was scathing. He stated that if the roles were reversed on the track, the four-time champion would cry like a baby. Hill's remarks are a direct response to several incidents from last season. In particular, after the 2024 Mexican Grand Prix, where Verstappen was handed two 10-second penalties, once for forcing title rival Lando Norris off the track, and again for leaving the track and gaining an unfair advantage, the former champion was quick to call out what he saw as a blatant disregard for fair racing. Hill's argument hinges on the idea that there is a fundamental imbalance. While Verstappen's driving might be aggressive, the problem is compounded by the fact that his team, Red Bull, appears to shield him from harsher criticism. Red Bull have almost given Max carte blanche, Hill asserted, implying that the team's approach undermines the sport's integrity by allowing dangerous tactics to go unpunished. He went on to lament that such protection not only distorts the spirit of competition, but also sets a dangerous precedent. For Hill, the issue isn't just about one driver's aggressive style. It's about maintaining the competitive fairness that is the hallmark of Formula One. Critically, Hill emphasized that his remarks are not driven by personal bias. "I'm not anti-Max," he insisted, acknowledging Verstappen's undeniable talent and charisma on the track. However, he underlined that talent should not come at the cost of fair play. His criticism also extends to what he sees as an unfair, British-biased narrative propagated by the media, accusations that have been leveled against Sky F1 on multiple occasions. In Hill's view, such narratives not only skew public perception, but also serve as an excuse for teams like Red Bull to downplay legitimate concerns about driver conduct. Hill's critique raises these hard-hitting questions. It forces us to ask whether current regulations and team dynamics truly promote fairness, or if they instead enable a culture where winning is pursued at any cost, even if that means bending or, at times, breaking the unwritten rules of engagement. His comments resonate deeply in a paddock already fraught with tension and rivalry, where every overtaking maneuver is scrutinized and every penalty can swing championship fortunes. Switching gears from behavioral debates to technical progress, we now focus on the evolution of the RB21. After a season marked by struggles with last year's RB20, Red Bull's winter work appears to have paid off. During preseason testing in Bahrain, Max Verstappen was candid about the improvements seen in the new RB21. Verstappen's comments during the press conference painted a picture of cautious optimism. "The car was quite decent to drive," he said, remarking on its enhanced predictability and responsiveness. Compared to the RB20, which had been criticized for its inconsistent balance and reluctance to fully commit its pace, the RB21 seems to have made significant strides. Verstappen emphasized that while it's early days and the team is still analyzing data, the overall feel of the car has markedly improved. This newfound predictability is critical. It allows the driver to push the limits with greater confidence, knowing that the car will respond in a more controlled and expected manner. The technical challenges that plagued the RB20 last season are well documented. Red Bull had to work relentlessly to tame a car that, while incredibly fast in short bursts, often faltered over longer stints due to issues with balance and tire wear. In contrast, the RB21 has been designed to offer a wider operational window. Verstappen noted that everywhere it's just improved compared to last year. He mentioned that the car is now more predictable, and that even though the pace remains to be fully determined, the direction is undeniably positive. This progress is especially significant when we consider the context of a fiercely competitive championship. With rivals continually innovating and pushing their own performance boundaries, every technical upgrade counts. Verstappen's measured approval of the RB21 indicates that the team's efforts over the winter have not only addressed past deficiencies, but have also set the stage for a car that could consistently challenge for wins. Moreover, the improvements in handling and predictability can help reduce the margin for error, a critical factor in races where one small mistake can cost valuable championship points. In his remarks, Verstappen also touched on his own role in the car's development. As a vocal critic of the RB20's quirks last season, his feedback has been integral to shaping the RB21. "I give my feedback on what I think the car needs to go faster, and that's what we tried to apply to it," he explained. This collaborative approach between driver and team is a hallmark of modern F1, where continuous improvement is driven by real-world testing and iterative development. For the fans and pundits alike, these developments are promising. They suggest that Red Bull is not resting on its laurels, but is actively working to refine its machinery. The promise of a car that is both fast and predictable is tantalizing, especially for Verstappen, who is chasing his 5th consecutive world championship. In essence, the RB21's improvements could be the catalyst that propels him and the team back to dominance, provided that the gains observed in testing translate into race-winning performance over the course of the season. Turning now to an inside look at team decisions, let's examine Helmut Marko's take on rookie Liam Lawson's performance during preseason testing. Lawson, who is stepping in as the new Red Bull teammate replacing Sergio Perez, had an eventful first day at the Bahrain International Circuit. Initially, Lawson showed promise, running competitive lap times that placed him alongside seasoned drivers such as Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, and Fernando Alonso. However, despite a strong start, Lawson's session ended on a disappointing note as he dropped to 8th overall in the afternoon session. Helmut Marko, speaking to Dutch media, provided a detailed explanation. According to Marko, Lawson made a critical change in the car that did not work in his favor. Specifically, Lawson switched from hard to medium Pirelli tires at a moment when others were gaining significant time by as much as 3 to 5 tenths of a second, while he only managed to improve by a mere 1/10. Moreover, Marko mentioned that Lawson also altered a setting on the car, an adjustment that, although it made sense from an internal perspective, proved to be the wrong decision in practice. Marko's assessment is telling. He acknowledged that Lawson did a good job overall during his first outing, but stressed that the decision to swap tire compounds and tweak the car's setup cost him precious time. This kind of feedback is vital for a young driver who is still adapting to a high-pressure environment like Red Bull. Marko's commentary highlights the fine balance between innovation and caution. Sometimes a decision that seems logical in theory can lead to suboptimal results on the track. What does this mean for Lawson's development and for the team as a whole? In a sport where milliseconds matter, the ability to extract every ounce of performance from the car is critical. Lawson's error serves as a reminder that even small miscalculations can have a big impact on race pace and overall championship standings. It also underscores the steep learning curve for rookie drivers transitioning to a top team, where the margin for error is incredibly slim. In discussing Lawson's performance, Marko also touched on the driver's enthusiasm. He remarked that Lawson is far more enthusiastic than his predecessor Perez, a trait that, despite occasional missteps, bodes well for his future with the team. Enthusiasm and a willingness to experiment are essential qualities for growth in Formula One. Yet, as Marko pointed out, it must be balanced with a disciplined approach to ensure consistency. Finally, let's look at the broader technical picture from the Red Bull camp, as explained by Helmut Marko and other team voices during preseason testing. The focus here is on whether the RB21 has overcome the balance issues of last season and how the team views the competitive landscape ahead of the 2025 season. During testing at the Bahrain International Circuit, Marko noted that long-run sessions, where cars run on high fuel loads, provided some of the most telling data. He remarked that the RB21 performed impressively in these conditions, with the car being more predictable and reacting in a normal way to setup changes. According to Marco, the long-run pace was the fastest, and it appears that the issues experienced with the RB20 last season have, at least to a large extent, been resolved. He even suggested that all the problems we had last year, I believe, are much better, or maybe they are sorted. However, Marco was quick to add that while Red Bull's improvements are promising, the team is not working in a vacuum. The opening day of testing also saw standout performances from rivals. McLaren and Mercedes, for instance, were very competitive. McLaren's consistency and Mercedes' speed under lower temperatures were particularly noteworthy. In contrast, Marco expressed disappointment with Ferrari's performance, pointing out that their drivers, with Charles Leclerc in 4th and Lewis Hamilton in 13th, did not meet the team's expectations. This assessment is crucial because it frames the RB21's breakthrough as part of a larger, highly competitive environment. For Red Bull, having a car that is more put together and predictable means that Verstappen can now focus on extracting maximum performance without worrying about unexpected behavior from the car. Verstappen himself was cautiously optimistic, stating that while it's still early days and much remains to be analyzed, the car is doing what he wants it to do. He underlined that the improvements are evident and that the RB21 is now under better control. But what does this mean for the championship battle? Marco's comments indicate that if the RB21 continues to perform consistently, it could enable Red Bull to reassert their dominance. With rivals like McLaren and Mercedes already showing strong pace, every team's progress will be measured against this new benchmark. For fans, the key question becomes, can the RB21's newfound predictability and performance provide Verstappen with the edge he needs to secure his 5th consecutive world title? The answer isn't straightforward. While the improvements are promising, Formula One is notorious for its unpredictability, and the competitive threats from other teams remain very real. As Marco pointed out, even with Red Bull's progress, there are big threats on the grid. The evolving strategies of teams such as Ferrari, which did not perform as well on day one, and the consistent lap times of McLaren and Mercedes serve as a reminder that every team is pushing the envelope in this technological arms race. Moreover, Verstappen's own measured comments reflect an understanding that the work is ongoing. We are constantly learning and trying different things, he noted. This iterative process means that while the RB21 is already a significant step forward, the true test will be how it performs over an entire race distance and throughout the season. If you enjoyed this comprehensive analysis and want more inside scoops on the F1 Championship battle, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps us bring you the latest updates every step of the way.